My name is Hanna Pettyjohn, and the title of my exhibition is In Medias Res. It translates to in the midst of things. It's also kind of narrative style, where you open the story in the middle of the plot and you fill in the narrative by going backwards and forwards in time. So in my recent work, I'm taking apart, examining, and making connections between my creative process. My working method involves using remnants from previous works. They might reappear in their original form, but they're usually reworked or transformed somehow. This was something I did in a more literal way, for example, with my porcelain burnout sculptures. If you're familiar with my work, you often see the same scraps of fabric that I've been using in my paintings recurring. So I took some of them and I dipped them in a porcelain casting slip and I fired them. The fabric burned away and a sort of porcelain shell was left behind. The fabric basically transformed itself into something else, or it took another form. So this time around, I'm also doing what is to me the same method, but digitally instead. So I've been using the history tool of Photoshop to go back in time to find stages in the process of collaging together a reference image that I think is interesting. When one works with Photoshop, it basically records every step as you add and remove and arrange layers and crop images together and collage different images together. And you can access and review all of these steps and the sequence that these changes were made. So I'm going back into the past and finding versions of a work that was left behind or discarded and turning that into finished work. So this, in a way, allows me to illustrate the passage of time as older work takes on new forms in a renewed context. I'm trying not to look at the method chronologically by making connections between images and concepts from different parts of the process of putting together a reference image. I've titled the series of works in the exhibition Anastomosis, which refers to making a connection between branching systems to create a network, such as with veins in a circulatory system. This makes me think about my work as being part of a closed system where they are made and then finished and then sent away, and they come back to me in a different form, maybe diluted or transformed somehow as I revisit them. This is a way of seeing my work not as a static object that's final or self-evident or definite, but as a document of ideas and decisions that are both present and absent, and as a way to visualize periods of time that occur both before and after its own completion. It's a way to visualize phases of being and not yet being, and it's an acknowledgement of the underlying space where forgotten actions occur or are discarded.